During today's innovative teaching tip, we are going to review gallery walks. A gallery walk is most simply thought of as several stations around the room through which students rotate to complete a task or problem or discuss a topic. When setting up a gallery walk, you want to make sure that you are intentional about what the goal of the activity is for students. Gallery walks can be used throughout the lesson and for many different purposes. The great thing about gallery walks is that they are a highly engaging strategy that fosters collaboration on responses. If you have students complete a gallery walk as a group, you may want to provide students with guidance as to what their roles may be or some guiding questions that they should address as they walk to each task. You can use the gallery walk as a summarizing strategy, activating strategy, and even for formative assessments. Some suggestions to consider when using gallery walks is to provide students with a recording sheet that mirrors the expectations of the gallery walk. You will also want to make sure that students understand precisely what they need to do as they travel around to each station. Since this is a great time for students to collaborate, encourage students to provide meaningful feedback for one another. Feedback can also be provided across the groups. Finally, it is always helpful to facilitate either a small group or a whole group reflection at the end of the gallery walk. When setting up the gallery walk, the learning modality may dictate some of the setup. For a purely face-to-face class, traditionally the teacher will set up chart paper along the wall at various points in the room. Students will be grouped together and then assign their starting point. If the intention is to have the groups of students work together as they travel to each location, you may want to consider providing each group with different colored Post-it notes so that they can easily identify each group that left that particular feedback in case they have questions on that feedback afterwards. If you have a remote or remote live class, you may want to consider setting up your gallery walk activities on a Jamboard and then encourage students to post on each side of the gallery walk using the Post-its within the Jamboard. To facilitate rotations, students can be placed in Zoom rooms together to then discuss each slide of the gallery walk that you have created on the Jamboard. Or if students are physically present in the room as a remote live classroom, you can have the students who are physically present rotate together to different devices or also place them in a Zoom breakout room as well. In either case, you will likely want to have that recording sheet available for students to use. If you're working with remote or remote live students, and even if you're working with face-to-face students, one great tool, technology tool that you can use is Google Slides or Google Docs through Schoology. If you recall in a previous innovative teaching tip dealing with interactive notebooks, there's actually a tutorial on how you can see in real time what your students are writing down through that reflection piece if you have it loaded through Google Slides or Google Docs in Schoology. Here we're going to take a look at just a sample problem from a gallery walk that was created by Margie Pierce. As you can see, in addition to the problem, students are provided with some information about how to proceed at the station. So they're told to first read the problem, determine what the problem's about, decide where they might get started, solve the problem, and show their work. So if you have a group of students, the first thing that you should see all of them doing together is reading the problem. Then they can have that conversation, that very rich discussion about what this problem is about and where they might enter this problem. Then the students will take the time to solve the problem and show their work. They can leave that on a sticky note and leave that for other students to see as they progress through the gallery walk. The nice thing about this is as students walk from station to station, they might see that a student used a different strategy, and that could be part of that whole group debrief. Again, if you wanted to provide a sample recording sheet for students, here's what one would look like to go along with that gallery walk, where students are asked to solve the problem, show their work, or explain your thinking. Sometimes as a math teacher, it's a lot more important for me to see what they were thinking and what their thought process was as opposed to each individual step. So if they can explain what their rationale is behind it, that can give you great insight into what the student knows and what they need to know a little bit more about. I hope that you found today's discussion about gallery walks to be helpful. If you have any questions on how to implement gallery walks, please feel free to reach out to Teaching and Learning.